Hey guys, today I'll show you how to crochet this easy ribbed beanie. The pattern is very simple, but this beanie has no extra fabric on top as you can see. And to achieve this shape with no extra fabric, there is some decrease you need to do, but you're not actually decreasing, you're not actually making single crochet decreases. You'll be decreasing by simply not working into a stitch, which is super easy. This is the back seam. It is pretty invisible as well. Also, closing this hole was super easy, whereas if you just make a rectangle and then turn it into a beanie, you would have a lot of fabric here, too much fabric for you to sew this hole shut easily, but using this easy pattern, closing the top will take just about a minute. So this is the yarn I use. This is 4 Seasons Marvel, and it is an 8-ply yarn, which equals to a weight 3 yarn, and this yarn is 100% acrylic. And it calls for a 4mm crochet hook, and that's what I'll be using. As to how much yarn you need, this is 1 ball, and 1 ball is 100 grams. So as you can see, I'm almost done with the beanie. I just need to finish seaming this and closing the top. So I'll just need a little bit from the second ball to do that. But for you, you might not need this much. You might have a different tension, so you might be able to finish the beanie using just 1 ball, or you might need a ball and a half. It totally depends, but I suggest you to prepare a little bit more than this, maybe 120 grams just in case. Besides those, you'll also need scissors, some stitch markers. If you don't have stitch markers, you can also use hairpins or scrap yarns, and a yarn needle. I forgot to mention, you'll also need a tape measure. So let's get started. So we're gonna start with the slip knot. You can use your own way to make your slip knot, but this is how I do it. Grab this yarn and pull it through. And then I insert my hook. And then I'm gonna make a chain. To make a chain, and yarn over and pull it through the loop on my hook. So that'll be chain 1. Yarn over again, chain 2. Yarn over, chain 3. 4, 5, 6. So I'm gonna continue chaining until this chain measures about 13 inches. Alright, I've got my chain here, so you need to make sure your chain slightly stretches to 13 inches. You don't want it to be exactly 13 inches when it's relaxed. So I guess my chain is 12 inches when it's relaxed, and when I slightly stretch it, it reaches 13 inches. And this is the length of your beanie. So this beanie is gonna have a fold over brim. So about this length will be the brim, and then you fold it over like that. So when you're wearing the beanie with the brim folded over, your the height of your beanie is actually gonna be from this to this. And also, if you're using the same weight yarn, which is 8-ply or weight 3, you can refer to my chain number. My chain number is 45. But if you're not using the same weight, you're just gonna follow the instructions on the measurement. And next, I'm gonna work back and forth to make this beanie. So that is the foundation chain. Now we're gonna work row 1. So I'm gonna chain 1 to turn. And then in the chain after that, so that's the second chain from the hook. That's 1, 2. In the second chain, I'm gonna insert my hook in 1 loop like that and make a single crochet. So I yarn over, pull yarn up, and that gives me 2 loops on my hook. I'm gonna yarn over again and pull through 2. And that stitch is the very first single crochet of this row. So I'm going to place a stitch marker in the top 2 loops, like that. And then move on to the next chain. I'm going to insert my hook again, make another single crochet. So yarn over, pull the yarn through, and then yarn over, pull through 2. And then I'm going to continue doing this, insert hook in the next chain, yarn over, pull yarn up, and yarn over, pull through 2. So continue working like this to the end of the row. Alright, I have 2 chains left. So that is the last chain here. I'm going to work a single crochet in it again, still. So that was row 1. Alright, starting row 2, you're going to chain 1 to turn. So like that. And then you turn your work. So every time you start a new row, you're going to chain 1. So that's the turning chain. That is the first stitch. In this first stitch, I'm going to work a single crochet. So as you can see, I have 2 loops here. I'm only going to insert in the back one, which is this one. And then I'm going to yarn over, pull it up, yarn over, pull through 2 to make a single crochet. That's the first single crochet of this row. I'm going to mark it again. So place the stitch marker in the top 2 loops, like that. And then from the next stitch, I'm going to work 1 single crochet in the back loop of each stitch. So that is the next stitch, and that is the back loop. Insert your hook there, and single crochet. So again, next stitch, back loop only, single crochet. So for row 2, you're going to continue working back loop single crochets until you have 3 stitches at the end of the row, and I'll see you back when you have 3 stitches left. Okay, so now you can see that is the last stitch because it's marked. So 1, 2, 3. I'm not gonna work anything in these 3 stitches, so I'm gonna go ahead and finish the next 2 stitches, leaving 3 stitches at the end of the row. And that is row 2 done. Row 3, I'm gonna chain 1 and turn. And starting from the first stitch again, that's the chain 1, that's the first stitch, go in the back loop and start making single crochets. I'm gonna mark the first stitch again. So that is the 3rd stitch marker I used. And then from the next stitch, I'll continue making single crochets in the back loop, 1 single crochet in each stitch. So on one side, I'll do this. On the other side, I'm just gonna work all the way to the end. So for this row, row 3, I'm gonna work 1 single crochet in every stitch in the back loop all the way to the end of the row, to this last stitch that is marked. And I'll see you back here. So all the way to the last stitch. And that's row 3. 1, 2, 3. Starting row 4, chain 1 and turn. From the very first stitch, insert in the back loop only and make 1 single crochet in each stitch. On this side, I always work all the way to the end of the row, so since I already worked a stitch in this stitch, I don't need the marker anymore. I can take it off and place it in the first stitch here of row 4. So row 4, 1 single crochet in each stitch. And when you're near the end, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to leave the last 3 stitches and not work anything in them. So work all the way here. I'll see you when I finish this row. So like this, 3 stitches, and that is row 4. Starting row 5, chain 1 and turn. And we'll do the same as row 3. So starting from the first stitch, back loop, work 1 single crochet in each stitch. And you'll want to mark the first stitch as well. And then you continue working to the end of the row to this last stitch, and then you chain 1 and turn. Starting from the first stitch, back loop, only 1 single crochet in each stitch, just like you've done before. So just 1 single crochet back and forth. And when you get back to this end, you're going to leave 3 stitches again and not work anything in them. So I'll see you when I finish the next 2 rows. So this and this. Okay, so that's the first 6 rows. Row 7 and 8, I'm gonna do the same thing. So beginning row 7, chain 1, turn, 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way to the end. That's row 7. You can mark the stitch. So that's row 7, and then chain 1 and turn 1 single crochet in each stitch. That's row 8. Again, leaving 3 stitches here at the end. So even though the stitch count of every row is different, there is a pattern here. On this side, 1 single crochet in each stitch, back and forth. On this side, whenever you're working in this direction towards this end, you're going to leave 3 stitches and not work anything in them, and then you're going to chain 1 and turn and directly start the next row. So following that pattern, I'm going to work row 7 and 8. Okay, so I have 8 rows, and that's 4 stitch markers, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm gonna turn again and work my way back. So this is still following the pattern. I'm gonna work my first single crochet from the first stitch in the back loop only, and then I'm gonna place a stitch marker in this first stitch still. And then I'll work this row to the end. That makes row 9. Okay, so I finished row 9. And now my work looks like this. row 10, I'm going to start this row as usual. But then when I get to this part, I'm not gonna skip stitches anymore. I'm gonna continue working here, and then these 3 stitches, these 3 stitches, these 3, all the way to the end. So I'll connect all these together using row 10. So I'm gonna chain 1 and turn 1 single crochet in each stitch as usual, and I'll see you here. Alright, so I worked my way back and I worked over the last 3 stitches of the last row here. And now it looks like this. So after that, I have 3 stitches here. I can actually take this one off. I'm gonna continue working in these 3 stitches, and I'm gonna work single crochet in each of them. So insert your hook and pull yarn up, work a single crochet like that. Next stitch, single crochet, and next stitch, single crochet again. Then take this stitch marker off, and then work in the next 3 stitches. I'm working the very first one especially tight because I don't want to create any big spaces here. The 1, 2, 3. And next 3 stitches. And last 3. Alright, so after you work a single crochet in the last stitch here, which is marked, you have finished row 10. And now my stitch number should be the same as my very first row, or my beginning chain number, which is 45. That's the first 10 rows. The next row is row 11. Chain 1 and turn. From the very first stitch, skip this chain 1, right? From the very first stitch, work 1 single crochet in each stitch. I'm going to start marking the very first stitch again. So 1 single crochet in each stitch, all the way to the end of the row. So this is row 11. It is going to be the same as row 1. So if you remember the foundation chain, I started from here and worked over here, and then I started row 1 like this in this direction, and now I'm starting row 11 in this direction again, and this is where I'll repeat the pattern from row 1 again, if that makes sense. So row 11 is the same as row 1, row 12 is the same as row 2. So basically I'm just following the pattern from row 1 again. So what you can do is you can pretend this is row 1, I'm working row 1 again, and you rewind the video back to row 1 and you follow the video again from there. So this is what I'm gonna do, right? Row 11, work all the way to the end. Row 12, work my way back and in this direction, and I'm gonna leave the last 3 stitches and not work anything in them, just 1 single crochet in each stitch to here, leave 3 stitches here, chain 1, turn, and work my way back. and that'll be like row 3 here. So again, I'm just repeating this little section over here like that, and after that I'm going to do it again. So I'm going to continue doing that, making this thing wider and wider, and eventually it'll be wide enough to go around your head. So this length, when you've worked enough rows, should be your head circumference. So like I said, you're going to rewind the video and repeat from row 1 to row 10 again and again. And by the way, row 10 is worked exactly the same as this one as well. So you work into the 3 stitches and then 3 stitches and then 3 stitches again and again. So continue repeating this. I'm going to do that as well, and I'll see you back here when I have enough rows. Okay, so I kept repeating those 10 rows. Now this can wrap around my head like that. And because I'm gonna have a brim, you know, when you fold it up, it's gonna be tighter. So when you try to wrap it around your head, do it like this. So you fold it up like that, and then make sure this can go around your head like that. So anyways, I've got enough length this way. I've done those 10 rows 9 times. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So make sure you do that 9 times, and the last row is worked from this to this, and this is row 10 of this group. So from here to here, 3 single crochets, 3 single crochets, 3 single crochets, 3 single crochets, all the way to the top. Now I'm going to seal the last row with the first row with slip stitches. So for row 10, I'm working with this way, right? This side is actually gonna be the right side because I think it looks better than the other side. So this is the right side, which is the outside of the beanie, which means the other side is the wrong side, which is the inner side of the beanie. And to sew these together, I'm gonna do it from the wrong side, which is this side. So I'm gonna turn it to the wrong side like this. And just for me to remember this better, I'm gonna place a stitch marker on the wrong side like that. And now I'm gonna turn my beanie like this, so I have the yarn on this edge, the edge that's closer to me, and I'm gonna insert my hook, and I'm gonna sew it together like that, stitch to stitch. If you're not sure which is the first stitch, you can count from the other side, but basically you need to make sure you sew these 2 edges stitch to stitch. So I'm going to count from this side, that is the first stitch, and this edge is actually the foundation chain, that's why it looks different, but I can see that is the first stitch. And now I'm going to make sure I line them up stitch to stitch. So now I have 2 stitches here. That's the first one, and it's lining up with these 2 stitches. So that's number 2, that's number 1. So that is the first stitch. I'm gonna mark this stitch. Now I'm gonna insert back in the very first stitch on this side both loops, and in this first stitch in 2 loops like that as well, and yarn over pull it through all 5 loops on your hook. That's 2, that's 2, that's 1. So pull it through all 5. Like that. And then I'm going to continue doing that from the next stitch. So next stitch, insert in 2 loops. Next stitch, 2 loops. Yarn over, pull it through 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Like that. Next stitch, yarn over, slip stitch. Next stitch, yarn over, slip stitch. So I'm just gonna continue doing this all the way to the end of the row. For the last 10 stitches, I'm going to do the slip stitches from the other side because this is the brim. When you wear the beanie, you're going to fold it up like that. You see why I do this, but leave 10 stitches or however wide you want your brim to be. So that's 10 stitches for me. Now I'm going to grab the yarn and the hook and put them both on the other side like that. And I'll flip this inside out like that. Now I have the hook and my yarn over here. I'm gonna seam the last 10 stitches together. So I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that is the next stitch. I'm gonna go in the next stitch like that, and next stitch on the other side, which is that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So on the 10th stitch on both sides, and slip stitch like that, and continue slip stitching all the way to the end. Under 2 loops, under 2 loops, slip stitch. Continue doing that. So last stitch, a slip stitch, and then chain 1. Cut this yarn, I already cut it, pull it through like that. So now on this side, I have a stitch marker here. Remember, the stitch marker marks the wrong side. So this side is the right side of the beanie, and as you can see, that is the seam on the right side. Now if I flip the brim like that, you can see that seam looks nice. It's the same as this one, and the seam on the wrong side is hidden behind it. That's why I flipped the beanie inside out for the seam before the last 10 stitches. But anyways, you will have 2 yarn tails here. You're just going to hide them in this seam on the wrong side. So for me, I'm going to tie them 2 together and just use a yarn needle and get them through these stitches, and then I'll cut it to fasten off. So now the last thing is the top. We just have a very tiny hole here. So what I'll do here is I'll get a new thread of yarn. So get your yarn, leave about 1 meter and cut it. Get it on your needle. And you're just gonna go through the edge on the top here, in and out like that, in and out, and leave some length here. When continuing doing this, in and out of the stitches on this very edge. And the last one. Okay. Now you can pull it like that to close the top. I'm gonna tie a double knot. Like that. And another knot. And then I can fasten off just like before. Fasten this off. To get this needle out, you need to cut it. And again, you need to fasten these off, hide these in the stitches on the wrong side here. This is the wrong side of the beanie. And when you turn to the right side, the top looks like this. It looks very neat. And that's the seam. Fold your brim up like that. And your beanie is done. There is no extra fabric on top, and the pattern looks very seamless as well. Alright, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.